NSW, Walmart workers of Reddit, what's your people of Walmart story? Don't work there and never will. We use it as a convenience store because it's on the way home from work. Stop to get milk, or bread or some other thing the wife is missing from her current recipe. Stopped there one day after work for some reason and ran into a friend from work who had retired about a year earlier. Worked all his life, standing on the cement facility floors and wound up having both hips replaced. The day I saw him he was slowly moving around the store with a walker. I asked him why he didn't get a scooter and his wife literally yelled, they didn't have any scooters, all the fat pigs took them. One of the fat pigs, on her scooter, was only about 10 feet away, rolling away from us. But when she heard that yell, she whipped it around real fast, hit the bank of shelves hard, knocking stuff down, and tipping over the scooter. She started screaming and cursing at my friends and the three of us just laughed and walked down another aisle. My friend said that little show was worth having to use his walker that day, and he was supposed to walk at least a mile a day to get his hips and legs back in shape. I said goodbye to them, got my stuff and walked back past the aisle where the accident happened. There were 4 employees trying to help the fat broad and get the scooter back on its wheels. She was still screaming and yelling and added how she was going to sue someone for something. Sometimes I think our Walmart is a portal to another dimension. While I was a cashier at Walmart during my sophomore year in high school, only 2 stories stand out. 1. I was put at one of the smaller cash registers for the 15 items or less positioned right in front of the subway inside the store. This family with 3 younger kids sat on the benches in front of Subway and bought the 3 kids those flute-like recorders and left their kids there while they went grocery shopping. Those kids blew into this for a good 45 minutes to an hour, driving all of us insane. I had to do everything in my power not to snap every one of them over my knee. 2. There was a lady with a small baby I needed to call the police on because the baby was crying and the mom's solution was to shake it violently and scream at it to stop. It went on far too long and I asked a manager what to do and she said call 911. So I did. You couldn't pay me enough to work there again. Shivers. Go to Walmart with one of my buddies. He lost his leg below the knee in a 4-wheeler accident. Didn't hurt his spirits much. On this day my friend was wearing jeans that completely covered his prosthesis, and he barely has any noticeable limp. Anyway, we pull into the handicapped spot closest to Walmart. We're walking the 50 feet into the store and about halfway there an old man in a boot cuts us off real close and starts screaming at my friend something about taking advantage and people who really need handicapped spots. My friend starts to motion to his leg but I stop him. So this guy continues berating my friend for about 30 more seconds. At this point a small group of people were standing to the side watching. Finally my friend just pulls up his pant leg while this guy is still yelling. You have never seen a look of greater shock and embarrassment on a person's face. I thought he was going to pass out because his face turned so red. He didn't say a word and drove right back out the entrance. We just smirked at all the people around us and got a few smiles. So I guess we prevented one of these people at Walmart from even getting in the store. I'll just quote what I wrote in an earlier post, announcing on the intercom. Sexual interactions are not allowed in the store. You know who you are. I think I just saved 2 teens' futures. Edit. Story time. Basically, I worked in the video department of Walmart. I just sat around and made sure everything was right through the cameras. Then I saw 2 teens in an empty row. The boy whipped his thingy, so I announced what had to be said. Shortly I was fired by my manager. Back in the fall of '06 I worked at a Walmart in Arkansas over the holiday season. I stocked groceries overnight. My particular beat was the baking aisle, which gets pretty wrecked during the holidays. So one day I'm sitting there sweating my fat butt off stocking an entire pallet of 10-pound bags of sugar when I smell something awful. It was like a mix of rotting meat and body odor. For a second I thought some douchebag college student had hidden some raw shrimp behind the jello again. So I look up and there's this guy standing over me. He's about 6'0" tall. He's got one of those giant Grizzly Adams frick-off beards. He's thin as a rail. He's wearing a wife beater, overalls and a denim jacket that's so filthy the denim was a greenish color. That's not all. He had 1.5 teeth. He also had a lazy eye, so I wasn't sure if he was looking at me or the Betty Crocker brownie mix. The smell belonged to him. Being the polite employee that I am, I ask if I can help him find something. He replies, "Dang, you're a big old boy, aren't ya? You play football?" I reply, "No, actually, I don't." Him, "You wrestle in college?" That's how he pronounced wrestle. Me, "Nope." Him, "You wrestle high school?" At this point he starts licking that nub of a tooth. Me, nervously, "Nope, no wrestling." Him, "You like you'd be pretty good at wrestling. You wanna go outside and spare a little bit?" At this point I mumbled something about it being my lunch hour and power walked by Fatus back to the storeroom. I then hid behind the pallets of Dr. Pepper till I was sure he'd left. My co-workers didn't believe me, but found the story hilarious. That is until he came back the next week looking for me. For a month, not a week went by where I didn't have to hide from the creepy hillbilly wrestler. Thus ends part 1. Okay, so one day I was working, doing my thing, and I hear someone ask me a question. So I turn around to see who was talking, and I see a dead man. Well, he looked dead anyway. I swear if he wasn't walking and talking I would have legitimately believed he was dead. His skin was a deep grayish blue. His hands, his fingernails, his lips, save his eyes and teeth. I did a good job of not losing my composure and I answered his question without addressing his appearance. Never found out what his glitch was, but my best guess is that he had argyria from drinking colloidal silver. Either that or I see dead people. He was a synth. Don't work there, but I was in line behind a girl so fricked up on pain pills that she sat on a bench and crap her pants. That's just Kristen. She's one of the assistant managers. I worked at Walmart for 3 months before quitting. I worked the deli and was called a dumbass while cutting up some old Frick's cheap roast beef. My co-worker then told him we all were either working on our bachelors or had gotten out of the army. He promptly shut up. Another time a whale of a woman and her crying mini whale stormed up to me while I was heading into the store to start my shift and began verbally berating me, saying my daughter has a 104 fever. Where is your goddamn baby Tylenol? I almost got fired because I replied, if your kid has that high of a fever you need a doctor, not Tylenol. Not to mention the item she wanted had apparently been recalled. Worked at Walmart for a year and a half. One night some kids hacked into our wall of speakers and started playing P at full blast. None of the managers knew what was going on, so they just were standing in front of the speakers listening to women moaning and men grunting. Eventually, they just unplugged all the speakers. Best night at work ever. My cousin works at the pharmacy station in a Walmart and they are extremely understaffed. One day a pharmacist called in sick at a different Walmart, so my cousin's pharmacist had to run that one also. So it took longer than usual for people to get their medication. This lady came in and looked at the long line and was like, "I'll be back, this line is too long," just kind of announced it and left the shop. An hour later she came back and yelled at my cousin for why the line wasn't shorter, and she tried to convince the people in line to let her go ahead because she was already in the Walmart for an hour. When she didn't get her way she just left. Former Walmart employee, worked the deli, Santa pimp. I have no other name. It was an older man who played the role of Santa year round. In the winter, he was dressed as classic Santa. In the summer, he wore red shorts, white t-shirt, and red suspenders. Still in Santa character, but in the fall and spring, he wore a bright red tracksuit with a white stripe and a bright red wide brim pimp hat. No other way to describe it. I named him Santa Pimp. There was also the person in the motor scooter cart whose stomach was scraping the floor as she drove. And the woman who was out of breath walking to the deli was having a hard time breathing as she ordered 2 pounds of mozzarella sticks. Then proceeded to start eating them as she wheezed her way away from the deli. I worked there for a couple of years in produce while in college, and there was this elderly woman that would regularly come onto me. It was usually just harmless flirting from her, but one time it escalated a bit. I was stocking grapes at like 10 PM and the woman comes up to me asking if they're sweet. I tell her that I have no clue because I'm not allowed to try them. I actually know an employee who was fired for sampling the produce, but that she was free to, which she does. She then encourages me to try it again, but I tell her no. Finally she points to something and tells me to look, and pops the grape in my mouth. She then puts her arm around my waist and asks was it sweet right into my ear. I said yes, and quickly excused myself to the back room. Again, like many others, I do not work there, but this story scarred me as a kid. Some huge burly black dude came in behind me and my mother, wearing a mini skirt and a mini tank top, both of which were hot pink and matching his wig. He is also carrying a purse with a fake dog in it. Now, I do not mind cross-dressers or ever have. I was 8 when this happened, but he really seemed off. Like he wasn't trying to play the part but was trying to make fun of cross-dressers. My mother didn't notice him until he threw a tantrum. Yes, a big, burly, adult man, and screamed. I mean, like literally, his lungs almost fell out. I want chocolate on my man, period. No wow. And then like 3 other dudes walked up with heart-shaped boxes of chocolate. I am guessing it was a prank or a joke of some sort, but it fricked me over as a little kid. I worked at Walmart in the summer of 2008, back in the photo lab. My first day at work was a Saturday, and I was told to be in at 9 for the store meeting. It was in the back by layaway, and I was toward the back of the crowd. The meeting hadn't started yet, and everyone was milling around talking. This ancient old lady, hunched over her cart, came waddling up to me and asked rather loudly, "Where's the bathroom?" I pointed at the bathroom located in layaway, and there was a crowd of people between her and the door. She walked past me towards the door and it hit me. This awful stench that smelled like a combination of rotten seafood, hot dumpster, hobo smegma, construction site porta potty, burnt hair and dead animal just vigorously raped my nostrils. I held back a hearty gag as she shuffled through the unsuspecting crowd. Each person she walked past visibly turned green. As the bathroom door thumped shut, the entire room erupted in gagging. One lady threw up in the water fountain. That old lady crop dusted the frick out of 30 people. It was disgustingly glorious. What a welcome to the Walmart family. I don't work there, but I shop there often since it's right beside my house, walking distance. So one day I'm buying flowers and get well balloons for my friend who is battling lung cancer. While at the checkout line, this guy, obviously older guy, was trying to hit on me. What was creepy was that he asked my age, and I said 18, which he replied, "I got here just in time." I now say that I'm 17 when asked. The true creeps are not deterred by 17. I worked nights in the bath and bedding department. One night we had a drunk guy and his sober GF come in looking for a bathroom mirror, so I tried to help him the best I could, so I could just get him out of the store. I showed him the countertop mirrors and he got extremely offended because he wanted one for in the shower. He started yelling at me and I decided that I had enough of that crap and I started to walk away to go get a manager. This guy grabbed me by my shoulder, whipped me around to face him and started shaking me by my shoulders and screaming in my face. I promptly ran to the office and had a panic attack, because yay, anxiety. My manager called the police and about 30 seconds later my co-worker came in saying a drunk guy just pee on the bike rack. It was an eventful night. I have not worked at Walmart for over a good decade plus. I was a day stockman. That meant I got carts, cleaned up spills, set displays, etc. But here are my 2 biggest memories and why I quit. 1. Shoplifters. I chased one out the door and was about to catch him and he just stops. I think haha I got ya. But he then turns around and pulls out a screwdriver and comes at me. Luckily Earl comes from the other end of the store. He put the screwdriver away and then starts walking and says, "I don't stop for you. You're not cops." Well, Earl was a sheriff and pulls out his badge. The guy keeps walking. He stopped running as he was running so fast he blew right past his car. By this time he gets in the car with Earl hanging on the door. Earl either falls down or steps back. I pick up a block and heave it thinking it will not do anything, but hits the rear of the car and the rear window blows out. Had some people come by later saying someone with a broken rear window blew through a stoplight. So he got away with some cheap tools, but I am guessing the rear window cost more than the screwdrivers he took. Another day some older kids came through and the alarm went off. I tried to stop them, just saying stop not touching them after the screwdriver guy, and one handed me some Nintendo games. He and the other guy kept walking and started to get in a SUV. I got on the intercom and called for help, active shoplifters, etc. No one came. So I went to the back and the store manager was just sitting there eating some vending machine pastry and told me, "Oh, you have to say code blah blah blah." and then turned away like I was not there. Between that and the screwdriver guy, I never did anything to chase shoplifters unless I was backing someone else up. Had a manager ask me why I did not go after one when the alarm went off, and I told him the same thing. The store manager told me we can't prosecute off the alarm, and I am not going if you are not either. 2. Mystery shitter. Had someone taking shoots right in the middle of the bathroom floor. The first time I just got a mop, got as much up as I could, and then tossed the entire mop and bucket in the dumpster after I was ordered to clean it up without anything to keep me from getting crap on me. Next time it happened I was already past clock out time, so I say frick that and clocked out. The guy who told me I think was the one doing it, and he was P when I left without touching it. I quit shortly after the second time as I was done with Walmart. This was a long time ago in just a regular Walmart, so I am sure it's as bad or worse at many now. I think for retail in general you're not really supposed to confront shoplifters, just alert security. Couple quick things I remember from my Walmart employment. First was the one day as I'm leaving work, I walk out the front door and I see a guy walking in with a squirrel on his shoulder. I do a double take, and sure enough there's a guy with a live squirrel perched on his shoulder. Second story was once when one of my fellow associates had to take a motorized cart back to the front from the garden center. Whoever had been in the cart previously had wet themselves and there was still a puddle. The unknowing associate sat right in said puddle. From that day on I triple checked the carts before I rode them back. Had a man walk to the liquor aisle, calmly take a bottle of vodka, walk to the sporting goods section while chugging it, then take a fishing knife out of its packaging, walk calmly to the toy section, and then cut his own arms open in front of a family. The blood was everywhere. He survived somehow. What really astounds me is that it never showed up on the news. Neither did the bomb threat that we had several months earlier. Walmart has deep pockets. Most of these things aren't unique to people who shop at Walmart. I see this sort of stuff at the public library all the time. Okay, so I do not work at Walmart but had the pleasure of visiting a Walmart in a small mountain town of Western NC. Anyway, I was waiting in the checkout line and this family was in front of me. I was impressed with how normal this family was. Mom, dad and son all had the appropriate amount of teeth and not too heavy accents. That assumption was the wrongest I had ever been. So I was waiting there for like 5 minutes when the son, who was probably 5 or 6, starts acting weird like dancing etc. I assumed he had to go to the bathroom and the parents were ignoring him. Well, this kid literally dropped his pants and laid a deuce right in front of me in the checkout line. The worst part was his parents watched and then continued on with the checkout process. Didn't apologize, didn't clean it up or anything. All they said was we encourage him to express himself. I have no idea how crapping in public is expressing himself, but that was the single grossest thing I have ever seen. I felt so bad for the poor Walmart worked, who had to clean it up. Very late to the post, but in case someone decides to read the new posts, here goes. I used to work as a video game merchandiser, and Walmart was one of my main stores. So while I wasn't really employed there, I still dealt with customers and so on. One night we were having a midnight launch of some game, and it was pretty slow, so I was just straightening and talking to customers. In walks in this young couple with a stroller and a toddler in hand. Now mind you, this is about 11:30 at night on a Monday. The toddler is fussy and keeps telling her parents she's tired and just wants to go to bed. Her father outright smacks her and tells her to be quiet cause he's looking at video games. Needless to say, I called the manager and they kindly asked them to leave. And no, they didn't buy any video games. I've only been to a Walmart a handful of times. I don't live in America, but I heard a woman say to her 4 or 5-year-old son, "You gonna fix your face or I'm gonna slap the fuck out of it." I worked at Walmart at Myrtle Beach one summer during college, and while stocking the shampoo section, a fairly large woman came up to me and asked if I knew where the feminine spray was. Thoughts running through my 19-year-old head in the span of about 5 seconds. 1. What's that? 2. She said feminine for a reason. 3. Whoa, they make sprays for feminine areas. 4. You. What? She must have seen the deer in the headlights look on my face and decided I needed a more thorough explanation of the product for which she was inquiring. She proceeded to squat down, wave her hand in front of her feminine bits and say, quite loudly, "You know, coochie spray." Her boyfriend turned to her and asked, "Wait, you've gotten that here?" To which she responded, "Nah, but I figured they've got it. It's Walmart." At this point, I'm pretty much speechless, but I vaguely remember mumbling something along the lines of "try over in pharmacy, TLDR. A woman asked me where she could find coochie spray while waving her hand in front of her crotch. I am very late to the party, but I used to work inside a Walmart at a Subway. One time I had to use the bathroom, and as soon as I walk in, I noticed 2 pairs of feet in the handicap stall. I think no big deal, probably just a caretaker helping out, and then 2 perfectly able middle-aged men come out. I was a little confused at first, but I thought maybe it's just a couple of guys satisfying their urges. I zipped up and turned to wash my hands when I see one of them washing off a syringe and spoon. It was a sad reflective evening for me, as I said to myself, I may hate this job, but I am not a rich addict, so I've got that going for me. Once a lady attempted to pay me without knowing how much her money was worth. She tried to, quarter by quarter, pay for her $7 worth of items while looking expectantly at me with each coin. After exhausting the $3 in coins she brought in, I told her I could remove one of the items, which was unacceptable. She asked so a good a few times. I told her I still needed more payment, and she huffed and said people in New York were much nicer. Sam's Club associate here. Since we're technically owned by Walmart, it counts, right? Do you work here? Asked about 10 times a day. Do you sell track phone, cricket or straight talk? No, we don't. Well, why the heck not? Do you take cash for new lines? Number. People like you are why we don't. Where's the iPhones directly in front of you? We have a group of men who will come in and try to haggle for everything. $40 phone case. They don't wanna pay more than $20, but start at $5. I bought this phone here 3 years ago. Can I return it? Nope. You had a 14-day window. 3 years ago, you gave me the wrong color phone, sir. You asked for silver and got silver. I've got plenty more. I'm so late, but here we go. I'm running the fancy new self-checkout machines when an elderly lady approaches me with 3 items and asks me to show her how to use the machines. I stroll over with her, bend down to scan the first item, and then it hit me. Crap. The thickest smell of crap that could possibly be produced by a human assails my nostrils like a chemical weapon. I quickly check out all of her items for her and send her on her way, but not before she gives me a pat on the back for helping. She toddles away, and that's when I noticed the brown chunks falling out from her pant leg. Then a scream of unbridled terror rises from the back of the store. The brown chunks led right back to the bathroom, and as maintenance later told me, it was as if a literal shitstorm had happened in that room. The mirrors, the stall doors, the floor, even the goddamn ceiling was covered in a thick layer of refuse. Maintenance worked their way backwards from the entrance, and I thought the worst was over, until my co-worker pointed out the handprint-shaped shit stain on my vest. Bonus of the story, Walmart refused to give me a replacement vest. As posted a few years ago, the craziest thing I saw wasn't even in a photo. I worked at a rural area Walmart. It was late one evening and me and another guy were the only 2 in the lab. No one had been in for a while, so we were just standing around. That's when a group of teenagers walked by the lab. The last one in the group was a male wearing jeans that looked like they were painted on, a tight black t-shirt, and a black fuzzy headband with kitten ears on them holding back his very short hair. Being a fairly conservative community, I took notice and me and the other guy chuckled a little. A few minutes later, a big guy with a white t-shirt with the sleeves tore off, tattoos, and a glorious mullet came to claim his photos. I gave them to him and he slid to the edge of the counter and started to look at them. Then the kid from earlier walked by again. Now I don't know if it was me, the other guy working, or both of us who were staring a little too much, but the kid had been out of our vision this second time for like 3 seconds and bam, he was at the counter. He started yelling in a effeminate tone, "What were you staring at?" I couldn't really tell who he was talking to and worried about an escalating situation. I asked, "Can I help you, sir?" He replied, "I was just walking by and I saw you 2 staring at me and I want to know why you were staring at me." Before I could say anything, the big guy had just finished looking at his pictures, placed them in his cart, leaned over his shoulder and said, "Because you look like a f***ing idiot." The kid immediately turned to the big guy and started yelling, "We like and dress how I want." I'm gay and by that time I can't even remember what the kid said from the shock of what the big guy said. That guy never even looked back and the kid went the other direction. I then realized that my mouth was agape. I looked at the other guy working with me and his was too. The only thing I could say was I think that guy just saved our butt. Never saw the big guy or kid again. I don't work there, but 2 employees were shot, 1 killed, last summer around 1 AM. Our Walmart is no longer open 24/7. Ex-employee here had a tweaker running gushing blood out of his leg, left a trail all the way to the bathroom, upon where he locked himself in a stall and continued to pool up blood. Had to be taken out by ambulance. Oh, and to top it off, they had a standard employee clean up the hazard spill. Unrelated to Walmart, but was at the EB Games where I worked for several years. Parents wouldn't buy their kid Saints Row 3. Kid was 13. I told the parents you can whip gimps with giant purple dildos and their kid got angry. He told me he hated me, then proceeded to lay on the floor screaming his little crap eating face till it turned literally cherry red. He shouted and cried so much that he passed out and the ambulance had to come get him. Needless to say, my face was also turning red because I never laughed so hard in my life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.